is what ended up turning that team fight in the end and gave the big win over to Obey, who are going to come out 1-0 over NRG. Remember, this is the set that basically was such a big deal for NRG in the spring split. They were the only one of the top three that dropped to Obey, and they couldn't make it to land. They're starting off very similarly here.
Europe is looking so scary when you
Isn't
look at the rosters and the teams, the organizations. I always think of Dignitas Rival and NRG and Obey Alliance as the top four. SK and Mouse still have a little bit of learning to do from spring split. We'll see how they do later on today. But this could be another situation where the top teams are taking games from each other, and then maybe one team is playing spoiler. Maybe it's Obey Alliance that's time to shine in summer.
And NRG is the one that could potentially end up being the spoiler later on. We'll see how it goes. But as you said, these top teams just continually trading blows, and I don't see any reason for that to change anytime soon as we move into these picks and bans. Thoth and Giannis already banned away by Obey, turning an eye towards Yammyn in the mid lane. And I suppose after an 81k damage game for him, I get why.
It makes a lot of sense. The healing is going to take away as NRG strips away the Guan Yu. Obey Alliance not allowing, adapting the circuit yet again, but pick themselves the rough with themselves. But Terra is available. EmilZy likes it.
And EmilZy likes it, and it's so strong right now. But the Raw is going to be switching sides. You saw this played by Prime last game. Now going over to the hands of Yammyn. Any chance that this goes over? Maybe like a Raw solo, any of that? Or almost certainly going to be.
maniaKK is not playing Raw.
You don't think so?
No.
Get that Raw over there in the solo. Let him get free farm. No, look with the Colin coming in, very likely that's going to be going over.
Vegas would never take those odds.
No, not even. They wouldn't even take it there.
They wouldn't take it.
It is going to be though. Kakulin, I think, going to be the one that maniaK's going to be playing as we get the Discordia. Going to be for Obey this time, so it'll be Prime who gets the chance to play the very powerful mage along with the Artemis and Circuit.
I'm surprised that Terra's getting through at this point. It was banned in the secondary ban base. It wasn't even picked before that. And yet again, these teams just not favoring it. They want to go for a little bit of control with the Discordia, the late game potential from the Artemis. And Robin is a great jungler, but I definitely feel that the Kakulin is too much of a comfort pick for maniaKK. That should have been a Terra.
Well, we'll see what they end up going after this as the Robin comes in. Could have some good synergy with Raw if he's able to come in and catch Discordia with that erratic behavior down. Only needs a quick second on that route to set up for a snipe to come in and potentially cause problems in the mid lane as Cerberus and Artio are banned out by NRG.
And that's going to be two Guardians stripped off the board, trying to make it a little easier for some of these frontliners to not have to worry about that Ghastly Beth penetration magical side of things, or even the cripple that the Artio can provide. As on the flip side, Obey Alliance taking away some of these late game hunters. With Artemis for Obey Alliance, they strip away the Shiblanca and Rama, not leaving much left on the table for late game. But keep in mind, if Ho Yi gets locked in, then he has that mark of the Golden Crow to be able to just keep amplifying that damage.
That's right. It would give him excellent boxing potential if that's what he chose to go with, as Sobek comes in for NRG. So I imagine that then will be what we'll see going over to EmilZy and the support role, since they already had the Kakulin picked up. But Aphrodite goes through. Remember, Aphrodite was one that we've seen prioritized here. It was banned by NRG in Game 1, and Obey going to grab that one for themselves.
And they have it. I love it because it's going to be Xaliea piloting it. It's not going to be PrettyPriMe with the Discordia locked in. And the Athena setup. It's almost as if these teams were a little bit late to the party, to the LAN, right? They didn't make the LAN, sure, but I'm sure they were watching it, but they don't prioritize the same thing that a lot of these other top teams that did make it to the LAN and won the LAN, whereas, you know, the Athena getting to the 9th pick, that was first pick, first ban potential between the Dignitas rival set.
Even here in the first couple days of the summer split, we've seen this Athena be very, very strong, and now they're going to have not just the global presence, but the perfect taunt setup for Discordia Artemis damage to follow up with it. Obey has a strong composition for themselves as the Chiron comes in for NRG. You mentioned some of the hunters were taken away. That's where emilitoo ends up going.
It's not necessarily the late game damage that you're expecting from other hunters, but the idea is they purposely gave up the Athena so that they can cleanse it with a Chiron. It's kind of a little one-trick thing, but NRG really relying on it because after the Athena dash taunt, it's a similar situation where if Sobek plucks, right, you're now out of position, so you can take advantage of it.
That way they can potentially punish this Athena. Sounds like we do have the caster standing by, so I got to ask you here, Toli, which way are you leaning? A Game 3 going to happen, or can Obey close this out?
I kind of like NRG's draft if they didn't have Chiron, but then again, I also said the same thing about Obey's draft last game when they had the Bastet. After winning that last game, I think Obey has all the momentum.
Well, let's see if Obey can take that momentum here into Game 2 up against NRG. Casters, take it away.
Well, game 1, Obey get Guan and Ra. Game 2, NRG go, you're not getting Guan, you're not getting Ra. So Obey go, all right, we'll take Aphrodite is what's going to happen here now. So, Afro.
I'm a little surprised that we didn't see any Odin favoritism for NRG, because Aphrodite's been such a popular pick in EU for a little bit, even prior to the LAN. So I'm sure that they're aware that that's definitely a pocket pick for them.
Well, let's find out what happens in this one. Who do you guys think will win this game? Do we go to a game 3, boys and girls, or do Obey put this one to bed? You saw totally he thinks it's going to be Obey. What about you?
It's too close to call, because even through, I think, more difficult circumstances in game 1, NRG still never really seemed like they were out of the running. I think that they're just too sound of a team to ever really count them off based off of compositions alone.
Let's get into the game then and see if NRG can fight back into this one. CaptainTwig this time will be piloting the circuit at the beginning of the game. Big grouping again from NRG at the start of this one, looking to try and either find a pick or some opportunity. It will be emilZy on the Sobek, and I really like this Chiron pick.
I think that the Chiron is kind of 50-50. It all depends on how Emil chooses to use it, but you have to keep in mind,
I don't like
emilitoo, when he first broke into the scene, it's because of the skin, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't like it anymore. I've got off it. He's gone with the Christmas skin. It's not Christmas time. You can't play Christmas skins during summer. It doesn't work out that way. emilitoo, don't know what you're doing. He's just ruined it. He's ruined the day, and I hope he loses lane now because of it. I just hope he knows that. Good day, sir. To you.
They're going to get first blood because he said that.
Well, we'll find out. They both got sprint, not upgraded sprint. Can we just recognize that at home, please? For all you ranked players out there that are still expecting upgraded sprint, not all the pro teams do it. Doesn't mean your supports in ranked have to do it either. All your supports in ranked realize you don't have to get it either. I'm just sick of having to go upgraded sprint because everyone expects it because the pros do it.
I like it.
I hate it.
I still like it.
I hate it. I could get faster boots.
Well, the thing about upgraded sprint is that you're purely looking for the surprise factor. You want to typically try and ambush. If you're just going to stroll into lane casually like what we saw emilZy and emilitoo do, I mean, they lost like all of their health bars. So that was kind of questionable as is, but I guess they really didn't want to back down.
Well, first wave cleared for both, and both purple buffs now already taken and down. emilZy gets his. Big difference, though, is where the red buffs go. Ataraxia given the red buff early on here. Taco, how do you feel about this?
I actually like giving the red buff to Artemis because if you hit the crits, or if you get the crits, I should say, then those are going to slam whoever they land upon, especially if it's Emil, because I think he's already critting base damage alone. You can go up to like 90, I believe. It's usually somewhere between like 76 and 90.
Well,
and
I asked you earlier as well about Transcendence, and emilitoo will go for the Transcendence here. Obviously has some sustain in his kit. It's one of the reasons I actually like this pick, because if sustain's going to be a factor, Chiron does bring some to the mix. That passive people underestimate a lot of the time.
The main problem I see with Chiron here is that there is easily interruptible factors for his dash. Yeah. Yes, especially against the Athena, I think is where emilitoo could encounter most of his complications, because you toss out a quick little taunt or even the strife from PrettyPriMe and you're in a whole world of trouble as Chiron. It's basically ult and get your damage off or be stuck and left to die.
Or Xaliea versus maniaKK, Taylor's oldest time. If you go all the way back to Season 1, and Xaliea going to taunt adapting and maniaKK there on that failed gank attempt. Xaliea, one of the original Aphrodite solo players of days gone by.
Man, where is Sausage now?
Where's he been? He's gone.
This is his time to shine.
You got a Sausage as well. It took me a minute to realize it's SOZAGE for you guys at home, if you remember that name back in the day. He was a true Aphrodite player too. Same level as Mogao with his Hercules for such a long period of time in his Ra.
Yeah, but think about it. He could be picking Aphrodite right now into Circuit and no one would get mad at him.
No one would get upset. Not in this day and age. Twig in the jungle though. Going to drop the blue buff down for the Aphrodite. Xaliea going to be able to pick up the front for himself as he continues to pressure onto maniaKK. Do we expect a quick Pestilence out of maniaKK here?
It's hard to call it just yet, because he might even look for something like a Genji Scar, but an early Pestilence wouldn't work against him by any means. It's just that you don't have any physical protections against CaptainTwig if you go for it.
Twig just looks at Adapt and goes, how's it going? I'm still going to steal at least a creep before I dip, just to make sure, you know, you're punished a little bit on my rotation.
Just ate one of the babies.
They all add up, though. That's experience. They're not worth as much as they used to be once upon a time, but they do still add up. Twig not scared to go deep in the jungle, but it's allowing Adaptin a bit more of a window to catch up and experience, where Twig had a bit of a lead moments ago.
At this level of play, losing one creep could cause them to lose their minds, and I think we can get used to hearing spam taunts being traded from both of these teams.
Between EmilZy and iRaffer, for sure.
Between all of them, I think.
Every time EmilZy misses something, iRaffer's going to try and spam taunt. That's going to be the game plan there. Try and tilt the Sobek. To be fair, Sobek is one of those gods that, for me, feels very feast or famine on the plucks, just like a Sylvanas pull. You hit your first couple, you're feeling good.
I like the Sobek pick here, though, especially because of the fact that iRaffer is on the Athena. If iRaffer tries to dash in ever, meet him with the pluck head on. Just collide.
I'm thinking about, the amount of healing that we've seen in the game so far and the healing in this game as well. Both teams have done a good job of answering back the healing. Sobek, specifically, and Cullen, both very good at dealing with healers. They both have anti-heal in their kit. Whereas the other team, across the way, CaptainTwig, he's always going to have some anti-heal there.
EmilZy, though, will need to be careful of not getting early ganked. Right now, of course, we can see that CaptainTwig is on the other side of the map, but I think that NRG's dual lane is going to continue to play super passive because of the fact that emilitoo just doesn't have a very reliable escape option right now, and I don't think that NRG is in a position to where they can comfortably provide assistance to him.
Well, look at Xaliea right now. Hasn't had to go back to base just yet whatsoever. Already level 6, his mana and health pool in a great position in that solo lane, I should say. So this is a good position to be in an Aphrodite. You've got through the danger zone, really, at the first few levels, and now at level 6 with his first trip back to base, that could be full boot, so look towards the breastplate a little bit earlier on here. It's going to be the breastplate, so cooldown reduction and tankiness to deal with the jungle and solo lane physical damage dealers.
And Xaliea is still sticking true to the teleport. Also, I think that maniaKK, this is the second game now that he's actually opted away from the teleport and just look for the team relic.
Was meditation. Game 2 going to be the sprint this option round. We'll see if we see any cursed donks in this game as well as this continues, because both do have healers, of course. Mainly Aphrodite and Ra specifically. And I think this is a much better opportunity for NRG to stay even keel in this game here, Taco.
I want to see what Xaliea leans towards in the rest of his build. Right now, he's clearly prioritizing the cooldown reduction, and that makes perfect sense because Breastplate of Valor can give you the physical stance you want against adapting a maniaKK, as well as a 20% reduction on cooldowns. And Twig still looking for adapting.
Well, they both found each other around the corner, and now the CC's down from Twig. Adapting's going to go in for some punch bag action. Bad news is, though, is that Twig used his ultimate. iRaffer now joining in. Adapting has to ult away defensively, just at the same time as those Black Harpies are about to spawn on that side, or maybe even a pick attempt on Yammyn, who's well aware of the danger scenario.
Without the last breath, I think it's going to be pretty difficult to actually take Yammyn down, even with iRaffer and Twig having a decent amount of damage early on. Mostly unfortunate that those Harpies hadn't spawned immediately, because they did have to stick around a little bit longer, which means they're missing out on some lane experience, which is probably slightly more important during the laning phases than later on.
Xaliea back to the tower in time to pick up his farm. No kills just yet from the two teams. It's all about superior farming. Yammyn has been left alone in the mid lane for a considerable amount of time now. Not much experience share going on there, which means he's got a bit of a lead over PrettyPriMe at this stage of the game.
Going back to Xalia's build, though, I think one of the big things FDOT especially loves to talk about is the Aphrodite back-off combination when tag teamed alongside of the jungler. Because you go in, you drop a ton of damage, and then the back-off's just there to help confirm it.
Yeah, it's the assassin going in, really, and emilitoo going to actually go for some extra damage. More than anything to clear the wave and head back to base is what he's looking to do that. But if he can hit Ataraxia too, so be it. Pressures the wave nice and quick. He's kind of the old school Ra snipes down mid lane just to get the wave clear so you can head back to base safely.
It's a statement, too, to just drop your ultimate like that in front of your direct laning opponent, because Ataraxia knows he's not going to have that ultimate. That's CC immunity, and as well as a possible revive if he gets the last hit.
If you're Obey, though, seeing emilitoo do that in the dual lane, do you start to have Twig rotate over there maybe and put some pressure on, knowing that he's only got beads now?
Yes. Even with the purification beads, if you are able to force out a relic, that just means another opportunity later on, and you can kill Chiron inside of his ultimate, especially with the last breath being applied.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why you saw emilitoo do that too, though, is to try and draw attention to himself, to try and take the pressure off the map from elsewhere where CaptainTwig is looking to cause problems. I'm talking about CaptainTwig trying to cause problems. He's rotating to the right-hand side again. emilZy looking for a potential plug, going to get taunted by iRaffer before he can do so. And so it's just focusing on wave clear. Twig still hanging around this right-hand side.
Emil's just going to sit super far back every single time and look to drop his cleanse off of, or it's the training exercise, isn't it?
Yeah.
It'll be applied anytime Raffer's near.
You know what my favorite ability name is? Masterful Shot.
That's his 2, isn't it?
Yep. You know why it's masterful?
Because you don't have to aim it.
Exactly. So masterful. So elegant.
Because he's
so
such
great.
an expert with his bow and arrow, he doesn't even need to aim it for it to connect.
Yep. Pretty much the way. Purple buff going to be looked at by EmilZy. A little bit too late to really contest. But Raffer's going to get plucked. Taunt is down. Adapting and Yammyn on a rotation. Raffer may have bit off more than he could chew. Had to use the sprint, but EmilZy will get credit for the kill. Rotation in from Prime, but Yammyn over the wall takes out Ataraxia. Who didn't even know that was coming? Twig turns up a little bit too late, but the duo lane from Obey is dead.
Did he even have vision? I don't even think he had vision, and it doesn't even matter. Xaliea is fighting his own battles on the opposite end of the map. Will be able to confirm his blue buff, but could possibly cost him more. maniaKK dropped every single one of those cooldowns, and this Aphrodite is... she's full health.
Taco, no gold query attempt from NRG there. Are you surprised? Did they just not know where the rest of the Obey were? Were they worried about Twig and his
They
ultimate?
used a little bit too much there to feel fully comfortable with it, and I think this is also part of the reason why.
He caught him with the dash in. It will be enough to get towards maniaKK. The birds are ticking away too, and Xaliea will get credit for the kill. Xaliea with the heals for Twig, and now Yammyn under pressure. The poison did spread to him, but Yammyn cleaned up Raffer as Xaliea gets a double onto Yammyn. Adapting turns up just to make sure this tower's not going to go down. But Aphrodite is here to play, boys and girls.
Yammyn just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Poison just spread. So what really cost him his life. Now the blue buff is stolen away. Speed buff also available for Obey to steal here. Meanwhile, Adapting pinned back on that right-hand side defending the tower. Means they lose that whole right-hand side of the jungle. And NRG Esports, well, they've done a good job in some respect of evening things up at the moment.
I think no matter what, though, NRG probably just suffered the greatest loss of all because Adapting will not have his speed buff.
The rage is going to ensue for a moment or two, at least when he realizes it has been taken down now. Back harpies will be up in time. Still, no look at the goal fury from either side in this one. NRG got the first 2 kills, but then Obey answered back with 2 of their own. As the tail end of that fight, we did see Raffer fall down again on the Athena. Something that he has struggled with previously, Raffer, was the Athena. Seasons gone by, not this day and age, though. Most supports have to have an Athena in the God pool, or you're going to have a very hard time, I think.
A lot of supports really just loving that Defender of Olympus, and it does feel kind of like a necessity to have a decent Athena in your God pool. Her setup potential is just so insane.
Definitely. She's just always going to be one of those gods that
safe and reliable.
Safe, reliable, able to rotate the map around the map at speed too. Xaliea, meanwhile, has 30% CDR with this build. He went for the Shoes of Focus too. maniaKK can't stop him right now. He did go for the Pestilence though, maniaKK, just to make sure he's got some magical defense and also try to reduce some of the healing going on. But Xaliea, been around a while, been around a long time in Aphrodite, so shouldn't struggle too much at this stage.
He just knows nothing's going to happen to him.
Left-hand side, or something might happen. EmilZy and Raffer trading now again. Ataraxia taking the brunt of the damage between the 2 hunters there in that little skirmish on that left-hand side. Sovereignty already completed for EmilZy. Raffer still working towards his as he heads towards the mid lane.
What I like about the Chiron here into the Artemis matchup, though, is that you're matching range for range. You need safe clear that isn't going to put you in the aim of the wave. Exactly. You don't want to get clipped by the Suppress the Insolent because not only are you getting slowed, but you're taking a decent chunk of your health with it. And emilitoo can kind of do the exact same thing now with the training exercise and Masterful Shot. As long as you add the training exercise to apply to the wave, if that doesn't clear it immediately, you hit that too. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Don't have to worry.
Well, Ataraxia is still getting given the red buff by Obey here, just to make sure he's got a bit more of a swing with those crits if they do connect. Now it's a bit of a lane-free scenario going on here. Just going to thin the herd a little bit and make sure that all these minions die. Nothing from emilitoo will go his way here in terms of experience. Tank a couple of tower shots if you need to, or a couple of minion shots, but in goes Twig. Takes a lot of damage for free, and adapting in pressure, but he's going to ult in place. Apple comes out, only hitting onto EmilZy, and now Xaliea swoops into action with a quick old heal, and EmilZy will get back to safety. Failed gank attempt from both sides.
I can't tell if that was EmilZy still being under the effects of Discordia or if he's just throwing out those taunts anyway.
You can never know. That's the thing. You're just going to take it with... It must have been the apple. It had to have been the apple, or the skull in some cases.
That's a long-lasting taunt. After the apple explodes, I have a feeling.
Taunts continue, man. Taunts continue. Oracle's about to spawn. Raffer and Ataraxia on the way. Meet EmilZy. Xaliea trying to secure his own buff. Loses it this time to maniaKK. But in the jungle, Ataraxia bit off way more than he can chew. And Raffer's in trouble too. Adapting gets credit for that. Twig is only there to give him a quick old smooch and dip out of that fight. NRG grouping around the Gold Fury.
This has got to be the Gold Fury secure too, out of NRG. Considering that Xaliea isn't going to be able to rotate in, I think that Obey are just going to have to give this one up, and they know it. They're looking to push up the creep wave in mid to try and maybe keep NRG away from looking to immediately siege their tower. But that's a pretty huge loss if you're Obey.
Well, it's the most substantial lead NRG have had in this game so far. Up 5-2. The gold is really the impactful marker. The experience joining suit at just under 2,000 here. Twig rotates to the right-hand side to find some remnants, some scraps of the jungle to answer back the loss of the Gold Fury, but not this time round. Nothing was available.
They almost feel like vultures, though, right now. Obey haven't really been able to initiate much of anything, and everything they've gotten has been based off of the response from NRG's misplays, I think.
Yeah, and there's not really been that many misplays from NRG so far this game, in all honesty.
It was just that solo lane hiccup.
Just that one solo lane hiccup, and NRG have performed pretty well so far. That's why they've got themselves a lead here at the moment. Yammyn returns to base, works towards that Rod of Asclepius, so extra healing coming into the boards for them, and Adapting completes the Heartseeker to follow the Jotun. So you can see that itemization, that extra bit of gold, coming in handy for NRG at this moment in time.
They will need to be careful, though, because PrettyPriMe with the Divine Ruin, I think is going to start helping out a little bit more since he's got the item finished off now, meaning that NRG can't quickly sustain.
To be fair, we saw Discordia with the Divine Ruin in the same slot at about the same time for Yammyn last game, and it did a lot of damage.
But there was a Guan.
That's fair.
On top of the Ra. One or the other, can't have both.
That's true. Well, there's a Chiron now. Chiron's not the same? No?
Got a thing for horses.
Left-hand side, the pressure's there on Ataraxia once again. He's been pinned into his town most of the time, but happy to be that way, honestly. Just looking to scale into the late game. Xaliea was baiting hard for maniaKK to come in because he knew he had Twig in tow. But all that, he's just relieving the pressure to allow him to get that. Ataraxia versus emilitoo, though. Beads for beads trade. Sorry, beads is traded for ultimate, I should say. And emilitoo go for the snipes. First, second, third, all three whiffed. Main thing, though, minion wave is cleared.
Ataraxia hitting him with the quick S-juke. Just back and forth.
Back and forth, out of the way, out of the danger zone more than anything. Sniping mid. Wow, Yammyn really.
I think he was waiting for the pluck off of EmilZy to happen too.
And trying to do the full combo.
Exactly. You hit him with the Searing Pain, you pluck him back into danger, and you kind of just freeze in that moment.
Xalia's the first one to this Pyromancer to try and contest. The Doves did tick away. Will they get it? That's the question. Were the Doves the answer? No, they were not. NRG secures a Pyromancer. Extend their lead a little bit further here, just finding more of these objectives. This is the thing that NRG were doing wrong last game, Taco. They were winning the fights, they were getting the picks, but they weren't getting objectives.
This time they're actually able to apply the slow bleed. I think it was the other way around before where Obey, even though they were losing the team fights, they had control of every single one of the objectives because honestly, they just survived through it all. It's hard not to.
Left-hand side, though, Twig may have found emilitoo in the jungle. A little bit too late. I don't think emilitoo realizes this shit. He will in a second. emilitoo turns around, meets up. Has no beads, so has to time that well and does so. Aegis still available. Raffer giving chase. Ultimate used by Twig. EmilZy on the rotation to try and save his hunter's life. The damage is good. The jukes are even better from emilitoo, who's still alive. He had his ultimate, and he didn't use it. I'm not sure if it just came back up, but it looked like it was up to me.
Emil just bought his team so much time, though. Adapting could maybe be looking to wrap around here onto Ataraxia, knowing that Searing Pain from Yammyn connected, and Xaliea is still split pushing in the mid lane because there's no one to keep him in check.
I'm surprised a little bit that emilitoo didn't use his ult there. I do think he had it available, but maybe the Aegis had worn off at the same time as his life did, so he didn't think he was going to get the kill. He may be able to answer back that onto Twig. Adapting on the left-hand side, though. Overhead kick away from the taunt, but the taunt was held by Raffer. Adapting going to eat more poke than he bargained for, but he's a jungler, so he can just limp back on the other side and heal
That felt a little bit lazy, though, out of Adapting. You have to expect that Raffer's going to hold that taunt until you use the overhead kick.
Yeah, it's a battle of wits, those games, aren't they? Is it like, do you taunt first or do I overhead kick first? Whoever does the other one first is going to lose that trade in the grand scheme of things. Ataraxia now level 15, joining that of emilitoo, who just took a tumble. And talking about emilitoo a little bit more, I really like that Crusher pickup on a Chiron. Attack speed and the additional extra dot damage that you're going to get out of that too, plus penetration.
emilitoo feels like the secondary support here for adapting. I think that this composition is based around trying to let adapting deal as much damage as possible. We see him opting for the Jotuns and the Heartseeker, maybe going a little defensive now because he recognizes that he's probably going to need a Mad Guy's Cloak if he wants to harass the backline consistently. But I do feel as though everyone else from NRG knows that their full duty role this game is just to merely provide assistance and helping chunk down those kills as easily as possible for adapting to clean up.
Well, NRG really starting to put the pressure onto Obey now, and Obey haven't really found an answer just yet. They took the tier 1 tower, but NRG all based at the wrong possible time. No one is at this Gold Fury. emilitoo's the closest thing to it, looking for the snipe steal, and a hair trigger just too late at the end of that one. So Obey, sneaker-free Gold Fury. NRG just let it, got caught sleeping.
I can't tell if Twig canceled the taunt after sending adapting into the madness, or if it was a secondary tick of it, but...
Twig over the wall, looking to steal away there. You saw the back-off combination where the assassin can jump in, and then the Aphrodite just follows up with some extra damage on top. The burst is definitely real from that combination.
It was even the same amount of burst even between the Defender of Olympus and Twig trying to full commit emilitoo.
One thing you are noticing, though, is that Twig is definitely sitting on this right-hand side, making sure maniaKK cannot keep trying to strip away Xalia's blue buff. The blue, very important to a solo laner, specifically an Aphrodite. You want that mana.
I believe with the blue buff, too, she has 40% cooldown reduction.
Bit of a bait, though, because Yammyn was on the rotation, and Yammyn gets turned on by Twig. Twig forced out back to the safety of his tower. In the jungle, though, we got a bit of action, too, as emilZy took a lot more poke than bargained for from iRaffer and Prime. Heals come out from Yammyn, and emilZy was just trying to heal up here. Now, instead, he's going to have no healing. Apple a day. Make sure emilZy's not here to play. Twig's still alive, though, getting some heals off from Xaliea. Good knockup from maniaKK. Great burst damage from Yammyn, and Twig's in trouble.
But Xaliea is still keeping Twig alive on the back end, and now he's just going to apply that heal onto PrettyPriMe later on. Beautiful ultimate to save the life of
Ataraxia's boar is here, and the boar is pinging through the fight. One by one, NRG are all clumped up, and Tusky came to play today. Sets up the team to be brought down. The sustain comes into it as well. The laugh spams begin. Obey get a deicide, and because of that, they're going to get a fire giant too.
Pretty well earned, if you ask me. That was beautiful play by Xaliea.
Tusky MVP.
Tusky is the MVP.
But Xaliea keeping up the team.
Wow. I wonder who could have ever foreseen that Artemis would be such a strong pick in the SPL at competitive levels of play.
No, what are you talking about? Don't be tooting your own horn. We don't do that on broadcast here, Taco. We don't do that here. Take that to the
You don't
Reddit.
know the level of memes I had to endure for this.
Listen, S-tier Artemis player, whatever you want. Obey, though, with the fire giant around their waist. Get a tier 2 tower after bringing down that tier 1 on the right side. So they might find emilZy who has to dash away. But that fight was NRG. They were on the aggressive. They just didn't have the damage to bring down a target.
I think that was mostly just Xaliea, though. I think that the boar was sick. But that boar isn't possible unless Xaliea keeps everybody alive first.
Listen,
he wins that fight for Obey.
I just want to give a credit to Tusky for a change. That's all it was. I just wanted to give a bit of credit.
For the one time that Tusky actually goes onto everybody in the fight and not standing in lane awkwardly.
It's funny how that fight all started, because really it was emilZy took a bit of damage from PrettyPriMe and iRaffer, went back to get heals from Yammyn, and that just caused a whole 5-on-5 team fight where both teams were trying to answer back after emilZy got focused in the engagement from CaptainTwig's ultimate.
And Twig clearly not afraid to throw that ult out onto a support. I mean, we saw a lot of adapting in the previous match, pretty much trying to prioritize going solely onto Ataraxia.
But that was late game, though, wasn't it? I mean, that was a pick situation.
True,
really.
but I still don't think that Twig is nearly as reserved as adapting showed on the circuit. I think that he's just throwing out that ultimate to see who he can grab up first, because Obey do have sound enough damage to take him out.
Well, Obey going to get a tier 1, tier 2 tower on the left-hand side, swing towards the mid lane next. Probably get those 2 towers, and Gold Fury's spawning soon after. They may feel a little bit cheeky, though, and go for a Phoenix attempt with how this is going. keep an eye on iRaffer for the initiations more than likely, with those dash taunts being available if he so chooses to go for them.
I like this full siege cleanup, though. They're just taking out the towers one by one, looking for the fight. Ooh, EmilZy.
Very low, and Twig was there for the remnants, looking to try and pick him up. Apple came out into maniaK, and Adaptin dives in. He's looking for Ataraxia in the backline, but big old shields, big old heals. Twig, meanwhile, does take down the Crocodile. The front line for NRG is already down, and maniaK has to blink away. Yammyn can't find Twig with the snipe, and now Yammyn's in trouble. Has to use the beads defensively to get away from the onslaught of Obey, who are now looking on the Phoenix.
Ataraxia's got his pocket healer Xaliea, though, and Xaliea is now going to stick himself onto CaptainTwig, just trying to make sure that every single one of these Obey members stay healthy for the Phoenix Siege.
And the Phoenix Siege is going very well. Phoenix is already way below half health, as you'd expect. Twig on the front side, taking a bit of damage, but it's maniaK who's going to fall to Ataraxia's crits. The damage was just too much for NRG to handle. Adaptin has to overhead kick away. The damage has been done, though. Obey have broken NRG's base again.
It's not over just yet, though. In the last match, too, we saw Obey manage to strip away the right-hand Phoenix, and then we saw 40 minutes of a back and forth. NRG down, but certainly not out.
Adaptin is in trouble against Twig. Yammyn was trying to support, but Yammyn, a very rare miss situation there. It's not easy to do that, but Yammyn's the one that would do it all the time. See, he nearly did it there, just to show you. He's got the ability. Still, though, Twig giving chase, back off. Overhead kick in response. The rest of Obey get the goal fury. Even left-hand side, iRaffer just split pushing to victory, getting himself a bit more farm.
Adapting flirting with disaster on that one, too. But you kind of have to. You're forced into an overhead kick because it's either you take the circuit taunt or the back-off damage. You can't do both.
I do say one of the issues I think NRG's got here is where they can assassinate a target. By having a warrior jungle like Raven, he has the assassination ability, right? But it's not at the same level as a circuit, you know? It's not going to do the same sort of thing.
He needed more picks to try and get the snowball factor going in the early game, but was just unable to find it. Xaliea too safe and passive in the solo lane.
Just able to hold it down.
Exactly. He didn't have to do anything. He just stayed put.
And funny enough, that's kind of how Obey played this entire game. I mean, Ataraxia sat under his tier 1 tower in left. Xaliea sat under his tier 1 tower in right and went, okay, if you can't gank us, then, you know, we're perfectly safe. It's not an easy game for NRG to play against this because poor Adaptin's like, well, which lane do I gank? Do I dive a tier 1 tower right, mid? Because, you know, Prime's not easy to kill. Discordia is one of the hardest ones to probably get hold of.
It's weird to say, but it doesn't feel as though the raw sustain is anywhere near on the same level as the Aphrodite in these two particular compositions.
Yeah, especially with how the compositions are now too. Xaliea actually going for a more tank-esque build with this as well. Asclepius, Soul Reaver, the real damage and items. The rest is all focused on survival.
And the Soul Reaver is the only item that I really wanted to see pick up in terms. Exactly. It's purely for the back off.
Right. So it's dive in with CaptainTwig, Soul Reaver back off.
Every single time.
Okay. Well, let's see what happens with this as Obey looking for their second Fire Giant now. Adapting, clearing out minions in the mid lane, and Twig still hanging around there. iRaffer, meanwhile, going to get a taunt off on Yammyn and get the beads out of Yammyn too. emilZy gets hit by the apple and he can't drive and strike away, or charge play away, I should say. And bursted down by Ataraxia. That was a tank that has been removed. Twig still going in, and he's looking for Yammyn, who had no beads. No healing for Yammyn too, but he's still limping back to the tower safety. Adapting trying to swing in from the left-hand side. Twig is low. Twig gets all in. Twig gets all out, and Adapting can't do any more than that.
It's just such a safe comp. How do you breach it? It's
well, how do you break it? You're the analyst here. How are you supposed to break this comp?
I think that NRG just... There's definitely ways for them to still come back. It's going to have to rely purely around sticking underneath their Phoenixes. Right now, though, Obey just played a little bit of better Smite during the early game.
Well,
NRG had to punish during the early game stages where Obey's composition was most vulnerable, but permitting a healer and late game characters to just safely farm and not really apply pressure on either side of the map, it's just... I don't want to say that that's an adapting issue because there's only so much I think that adapting could have possibly done here. And I think that they might have needed maniaK to be on something other than Kakulin. I think the whole thought process was he'll bully the lane even if Xaliea does look for the healer. But did he really? Xaliea was chilling underneath his T1 the whole time.
It's a very good point to make. And the funny thing is as the Pro League continues, I mean, this is only day 2 of the Pro League in the grand scheme of things in the summer split. Spring was all about...
There's no cursed Ankh this time.
Is that the biggest thing?
I feel as though that's the main issue that NRG are also encountering is...
Just no cursed
They
Ankh?
might have assumed that with Yammyn having raw heals, that could possibly match
With
those
Sobek
of
and
Xaliea.
heal.
But Xaliea is keeping his specific target locked. And NRG haven't really been prioritized. They've been mostly prioritizing one target at a time, excuse me, because that's the way their composition rolls. They look for the pick burst comp, but Obey just negate all of it with the Aphrodite, kind of similar to what we saw in the last game where they had the Guan Yu and the Raw against an AoE composition from NRG. So this is just amazing drafting, really, by Obey.
Well, Fire Giant is up for about another 2 minutes around Obey's waist as the Magi's Cloak worn off of adapting in the mid lane. And, of course, from CaptainTwig too, but the big fight is on the left-hand side. These two just keeping each other busy as the focus from Obey is towards this left-hand Phoenix. Meanwhile, adapting cannot stop CaptainTwig and those minions from getting that middle Phoenix, and that's a nice win. Adapting losing this battle to Twig. In comes Yammyn to the rescue. The bleed, the dot damage, the overhead kick kept him alive, and EmilZy, just in case, will use the shell on his assassin.
CaptainTwig wanted to style that so hard, but couldn't afford to stick around much longer. Speaking of which, nice ton out of Raffer's going to catch 2, force the ultimate out of EmilZy. He's lurking in the water still, but no damage to be applied to anyone.
Yeah, Adapting's low, Maniac's low, EmilZy's low. All the tanks out, and the damage dealers, Yammyn and emilitoo, are like, well, I guess it's just us versus the whole team of Obey. No, let's not throw our lives away. We have to surrender a second Phoenix. Obey, head to the right-hand side. Obey, they defeated NRG earlier on in spring and stopped NRG making the LAN. And start of this split, it looks like they may be NRG 2-0 here.
This is the Obey that I think most people were expecting to see at the start of the year, but they've clearly found their rhythm because NRG are not standing a chance right now. EmilZy already getting pushed out to 30% health.
Yeah, EmilZy missed the block and instead has to return to base. Adapting, eating a couple of crits to the face. Has to overhead kick away to safety. Yammyn just trying to put out damage in the backline where he can. Snipe out from Yammyn too. Not enough to bring down a single target on Obey. Xaliea just healing. Raffer in with a taunt again.
All this spam in every which direction. NRG don't even know which way to turn. Maniac's going to end up falling. CaptainTwig get the credit for that one. A gets forced out on the back end, but the last spread damage is still being applied, and CaptainTwig is so deep chasing.
Just forcing them out more than anything else. Phoenix down on the right, fire minions pouring down mid lane. Back into the fray comes Raffer with the ultimate, and now he looks taunts onto EmilZy. EmilZy is dead. Adapting goes in. He's pinned against the wall and dead. Snipe from Yammyn's not good enough. Obey, defeat NRG 2-0.
It wasn't an easy one. Well, second game certainly looked a little bit less difficult than the first, but Obey coming in hot for the start of Season 5 Summer Split.
Well, I mean, look at what happened. Spring, we saw it was all focused around mid laners and junglers. They were the big talk of the town. It's mages, it's assassins. They run the world. Summer Split comes around. We saw the Lamb, and now the healers. The healers are the ones coming through here, Taco. We could be going to a healing meta.
It felt a little bit like Controlled Chaos too from Obey, I should specify, because they were constantly just shifting NRG's attention to a different part of the team fight, in that they were looking to protect their back end, but it's just Twig sitting back there harassing everybody. He's got heavy mobility on the circuit, doesn't necessarily need the Aphrodite heals in order to stay safe.
Well, we said his name a couple of times in that broadcast, but who do you think MVP was for that game?
Xaliea.
Yep, I had a feeling you were going to say that, shockingly enough. Good little
Xaliea won that game at their blue buff.
Can we put Tusky on that list just for the sake of
No,
Tusky?
it was in between the T2 and the T1 when they take that engagement. Xaliea saved that fight so hard. I think the kiss toss out after just kissing somebody looking for the heal and then tossing it out for the ultimate was just perfect.
I will say solo laners have to be the most all-round players on a team, because sometimes you got to run Guardians, sometimes you got to run Warriors, winning lanes, losing lanes, early game, late game, or even healers. Let's find out as we throw to the desk who gets the MVP and what you all thought about that one.
Thank you, Hindu and Taco. Obey versus NRG, and it comes up all Obey, and not just in 3 games, in 2 games totally. I mean, are you surprised at all by this result, and what went so well for Obey there in Game 2?
I'm surprised a little bit, and then on the other side, I'm not. I'm not surprised that Obey is doing so well. considering their roster in general.
Sure.
It got off to a slow start in the spring split, and on the flip side, NRG are known to get off to a slow start, but this is already the summer split. You should have been ready for Season 5 during the spring, but losing to Obey Alliance, they lost to them in the last split. They're losing to them here yet again. And the thing that really changed the whole course of the action was that team fight that Taco was alluding to between that Tier 1 and the Tier 2 tower. It was Obey Alliance on the defensive side of things. Between the Tusky, between Xaliea playing the Aphrodite, that was the difference between winning that team fight or losing it.
Yeah, to me, Ataraxia and Xaliea got to be the MVPs, at least of that fight. But the MVP of the game, that one's going to be Xaliea, as voted by you all there in Mixer chat. He's going to be the one that you all selected, and for good reason. The Aphrodite, I mean, what was the answer to it in that game? Able to, like you said, like Taco alluded to, find the kiss to get the ultimate off for the immunity, sustaining them up through the fight. I mean, Twig was able to go in constantly and then come back and get refreshed.
It was just the safety that he had. Kakulin is not going to do anything 1v1 against Aphrodite. Like, the whole idea behind picking the Kakulin is to get solo lane pressure and invade blue buffs. But that never really happened for NRG because of all the action in the duo lane. It took about 9 minutes worth of time until NRG found 2 quick kills at the beginning of the game, all the way between that purple red buff area. Almost dove Obey's Tier 2 tower, but decided against it. And yeah, they just didn't elect to aggress on the Aphrodite. And I think there needs to be a shift of this solo lane meta where if you know a specific individual player is going to play a healer, you don't have to prioritize your own warrior because you could just pick from the cast line anyway. Pick other gods that are more effective. Take away the Athena. This Sobek pick after secondary ban phase, not the pick to go when Athena and Terra were still available.
Well, that's what they ended up going with, and as you mentioned, into the Athena matchup just did not quite have that same impact to the emilZy for energy as what was able to be had over there on the side of Obey. But it's starting to look like totally healers might be here. They here to stay. I mean, the Aphrodite, the Ra, the Go On You, they're very strong.
It's looking that way, but keep in mind that these teams, they're doing the Circuit, but they're not doing the Circuit and the Odin. There's definitely answers to it as long as you can group up and shut them down in the early laning phase. And NRG, they had some windows to strip away the blue buffs. They did not go for it in the second game.
Yeah, they just weren't able to hold this Aphrodite down. But I mean, that's what I want to talk about. I mean, Discordia, Circuit, Artemis, the Aphrodite, they were so strong. It felt like once that mid to late game started coming in, I mean, is this a picks and bans thing for NRG is my question.
This was definitely picks and bans that Obey outdrafted NRG, but it was more so not necessarily the Aphrodite that made it like all topsy-turvy that NRG couldn't handle. It was NRG's own individual picks, not keeping up with the meta. They're playing too much of their own style and not making these shifts and changes to keep up with the rest of the teams.
Well, we have plenty more European Smite action coming at you next. It is going to be SK going up against Mouseport, so we got a quick break, and we will be right back.